Donald Trump is known for aggressively attacking the media. He refers to them as fake news. More importantly, he refers to the press as enemy of the people. And so there have been members of Fox News who have also fed into that. And now it's having real ramifications, real consequences for journalists who are out there simply trying to do their jobs. A recent example was when Jim Acosta, the political reporter for CNN, went to a rally in Florida, Tampa, Florida, that Trump was speaking at. And while he was there trying to cover the event, a number of people harassed him, yelled at him, shouted at him, and he shared video of those interactions on his Twitter page. He also said the following: just a sample of the sad scene we faced at the Trump rally in Tampa. I'm very worried that the hostility whipped up by Trump and some in conservative media will result in somebody getting hurt. We should not treat our fellow Americans this way. The press is not the enemy. So something interesting happened after Acosta made all of this apparent, kind of spoke out about it on social media. Hannity came to his defense. So let's take a look at what Hannity had to say on Fox.
It's why we call them the Destroy Trump press. Now, CNN's chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, he has been one of the worst offenders. And the crowds at last night's Trump rally in Tampa, Florida, well, they told him in person what they think of him and his network. Jim Acosta shared his fear of Trump supporters, and he tweeted out, quote, just a sample of the sad scene we faced at the Trump rally in Tampa. I am very worried that the hostility whipped up by Trump and some in conservative media will result in somebody getting hurt. We should not treat our fellow Americans this way. The press is not the enemy. Jim, I'm a pretty prominent conservative in the country. Let me say this clearly and loudly. I want every journalist in this country, everyone, I don't care who you work for, to be safe. And I'll tell you right now, I will be the first person to come to your defense if I'm there and anyone ever dares lay a hand on you. If I was standing there, if I see it happen, I will be the first person to jump in and fight on your behalf. Physical violence is never acceptable to me, nor is it acceptable to the conservatives I know and respect. And let me also be clear, if you're a conservative, and by the way, you ever threaten anyone, you're not a friend of mine, you're not a friend of this program.
Okay, so I actually respect Hannity for doing that. I think he did a pretty good job with that.
Please.
All right, we can disagree about that in a second. But the part I didn't agree with was no conservative I know or respect would resort to violence.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Have you been paying attention? How about when Trump says at the rallies, go take him out, I'll pay your legal bills. Attack him, punch him in the face. And all you do is fawn over Donald Trump. What do you mean no conservative you know or respect would encourage violence? The president does it all the time.
In fact, in the end of that video that we just showed you, he said, if you ever threaten anyone, you're not a friend of mine. So now that we know that about Hannity, what would he say to this video?
This guy started screaming by himself, and I don't know, rough up. Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
All right, yeah, get him out. Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, they would not do it again so easily. Part of the problem and part of the reason it takes so long is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore, right? We have wonderful security guys. They said, Mr. Trump, there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. I will pay for the legal fees, I promise. Do you know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So, okay, you rest your case, I hear you. So Hannity is deeply disingenuous when he says he doesn't want anyone threatening anyone. He's in love with Donald Trump, and we just showed you the tape. It's open and shut case. But I still like that Hannity at least goes out and says, don't hurt him, don't touch him, don't do anything physical, because they listen to everything Fox News says. So maybe it helps them bring it back a couple of inches. And they moved it forward many yards and miles. I hear you on that. But he did at least say the right thing there. But I want to be clear too. I think, look, I've said this a lot of times because it's true. It's not a black and white issue. It's not, you either say the press is wonderful and everything they do is great and just the mainstream news is terrific and don't criticize it, or they're the enemy of the people and somebody should do something violent to them, right? No, the answer is yes, it's totally within bounds to point out the perspective of the press and to even be mad about it. The press has been vicious to Bernie Sanders. And yes, Bernie Sanders crowds boost CNN just as much, and I don't mind that at all. But I mean, but with liberals, what are they gonna do? Throw Birkenstocks at the press? No, they're not gonna. You know, the liberals aren't gonna do anything, and nor does Bernie Sanders or anybody else encourage them with ugly talk like they're the enemy of the people. And and after a Capitol Gazette, and 5 people were murdered.
Trump still refers to them as enemy of the people, okay? And let's also be clear. Look, that segment with Hannity is all fine, hunky-dory, if he actually put action behind the words that he's, uttering in that segment. Because the fact of the matter is, he has been not only very complimentary toward Trump every time he attacks the media, he himself has engaged in the exact same type of rhetoric that you see from Trump. And if you don't believe me, of course we have a montage proving that as well. Let's go to video 9, I'm skipping ahead.
Now, the media in this country has zero credibility. We have known this for over a decade. They are frauds. They are partisan hacks. Pretty much all they do is parrot liberal political talking points, attack President Trump 24/7. Yeah, I'm not surprised I've become a 24/7 target. They hate conservatism. They hate anybody that dares to challenge their rigid, radical, left-wing ideology.
They hate you, they're radicals, they hate the president. I mean, come on.
No, but that's different than enemy of the people and punch him in the face. So, look, I think that what conservatives have done in attacking the media as liberal is deeply corrosive, and I don't believe they want to make the press better. I think they want to destroy the press and replace it with Hannity's propaganda. Unlike us, we want to actually make the press better and actually report the reality instead of just calling everything neutral, because neutrality is the enemy of reality. But that's not, it's a different league to call them enemy of the people.
No, okay, sure. Okay, I'll give you that. It's different to call them enemy of the people, but listen to what he's doing there, right? This whole fake news narrative, I mean, what Fox is essentially state-sponsored media. They might not be getting money from the federal government, but they're certainly sponsored by Trump. They're certainly applauded by Trump nonstop. And so, like, the narrative that you keep hearing from right-wing media over and over again is, don't trust the legitimate sources, don't trust evidence, don't trust facts, don't trust anything you hear or see, only trust us, only trust Trump. That is also incredibly dangerous, right? Especially when he might not be saying enemy of the people there, but what he does imply over and over again is the media hates you. The media hates you for supporting Trump. And I think that plays into the same thing that you hear Trump saying over and over again about the media and how they are the enemy of the people.
Last thing, fine, those are all things that are important and real and things to take into consideration. But at some point, you do have to criticize the press.
Of course you do.
So you've got to find the correct balancing act, because the press does have a bias, and they don't know it. They don't have bad intent. The right wing. I mean, you're right that Hannity's language is dangerous, Anna, because he is putting bad intent on them, which makes people angrier and want to take action against them, saying, "Oh, they're trying to do this and this.
They're trying to deceive you."
It said they're trying to deceive you. No, they're not.
They're fabricating things.
But in my opinion, the mainstream press has a deep establishment bias. They are for the status quo. So when you say, "Hey, would like to help the average American," every time, almost every outlet will say, "That's not practical. It's not pragmatic. We can afford wars, and I'm never going to ask about the cost of wars. We can afford trillions of dollars in tax cuts, but how dare you try to give health care to the American people, just like every other developed country?" And they will attack progressive ideas consistently and to some degree viciously. Now, but it's not because they're the reporters are secret conservatives and they can't wait to help the rich. It's groupthink, and they've been taught no, Sean Hannity calls you liberal. Make sure you really go after the liberals. And the status quo is great. It's great. Politicians with lots and lots of money that they took from corporations, they got bribed to take. That's wonderful. They're honorable gentlemen. It's groupthink. So we do have to call that out strongly, but there's a really important line, and I think that Hannity is over the line. I hear what you're saying. I like that he at least walked it back to try to get to the right side of the line by saying don't do anything physical. Trump has never been anywhere near the right side of the line. He's way overboard to begin with, and now by openly encouraging violence against the press by calling them enemy. What do you do with enemy of the people? What does the government do with enemy of the people? He's the head of the government. He's way past that line, and he is a danger to our Constitution and to our republic.
And also, just one other fact that I want to point out. One day before Hannity did that defense of Acosta, one day before, I should say, he did that defense of Acosta, he was on Fox News and essentially said that Acosta deserved the harassment he got. So I don't know if he changed his tune because maybe there was a little bit of backlash, but either way, actions speak louder than words. And so it takes more than just defending Acosta in one segment to actually change the minds of some of the more unhinged Trump supporters who actually want to carry out acts of intimidation or violence.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.